Plugging through. Four, five, six. James, nice to have you here. Right, we've got a quorum around the table, so warm welcome to our team. And just before we start, I just want to thank everyone involved in putting this together. It potentially has been a challenging issue to deal with, but the amount of collaborative work that's happened throughout the organisation to put this together, I think, has been extraordinary, so well done. Who's going to start?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name's Grant Barnes. I'm General Manager of Licensing Compliance Services, joined by my colleague Craig McElroy from Healthy Waters. I don't know if it's unusual for an officer to express their excitement coming to this council, but you're very committee, beg your pardon, but you're right, Madam Chair.
We expect that every month.
We are here excited, a culmination of a large amount of work that's brought us to this position, and we're very, very keen to hear the committee's views. So if I'll just provide some context to the report. You will no doubt be familiar that we frequently undertake monitoring of bathing beaches and lagoons in Auckland, and this has been in place for nigh on 18 years. As it currently stands, this involves weekly sampling of 71 locations between November and April. Now, this monitoring is done in accordance with national guidance that was published in 2003 by the Ministries of Environment and of Health. When that guidance was published, it represented the best national and international scientific understanding and approach. Now, Auckland Council is very fortunate to have a team of esteemed and dedicated scientists in REMU, and they have worked hard over the last couple of years to develop the science of this much further. As a consequence, our understanding of water quality and its relationship to public health has advanced considerably, as too have the accuracy of mathematical models that could be used for forecasting and predicting risk. So what we're presenting today is an opportunity to break new ground in New Zealand for Auckland Council to take a significant leadership role in the monitoring of bathing beach quality. If we were to implement a modelling and forecasting approach, this would provide water quality information in advance to beach users, not retrospectively, but in advance, up to 3 days in advance, I add. This would allow the public to make informed decisions about where they go bathing and when. This proposal has followed receipt of an independent audit that officers commissioned mid last year, seeking some independent advice as to the quality of the current program and, importantly, what improvements could be done. Now, should the committee resolve to endorse the proposed changes, then it would be our commitment to do so in time for the next bathing beach program, which would commence 1st of November 2017. Now, maybe if I can illustrate the opportunity, can I invite, via you, Madam Chair, members to turn to page 47 of their documentation. And what you see here is a current graphical representation of what we are proposing. There are 4 boxes. On the left is a bathing forecast for Point Chevalier. Next to that is Herne Bay, Mission Bay and Kohi Marama right on the right-hand side. There are forecasts made of bathing quality in green, which you'd understand to be good, to red, which is caution. Those forecasts are presented for morning, for afternoon and evening. Interestingly, also what's presented is information about precipitation, about wind, about air temperature, other things that are relevant to a person who wishes to go bathing. Is it going to be cold? Will the wind be blasting me as I lie in my oh no, I won't say speedos.
Go there.
Now also, interestingly here, you can make a decision based on what you see about Point Chev. Should I go in the morning? Should I go in the afternoon? Or should the opportunity present, perhaps a drive across to Kohimarama Bay? Now this is not theoretical. This is a forecast that was determined from an actual event in December 7th of last year. At that time, our current Safe Swim program was reporting no issues, all green. But in fact, the model was saying something different for Point Chevalier and for Herne Bay. That there was a period of time where advisories would have gone up expressing caution. If you did have that burning desire to go swimming, of course, Mission Bay and Kohimarama would have been the great place to go. If I just draw your attention to preceding pages, 44 and 45, what we also seek endorsement on is the manner in which we communicate this information, noting that to do so in a channel that's more accessible and likely to be internet or app-based would get to beach users in a more user-friendly manner, supported by upgraded beach signage. These are photos taken from other jurisdictions overseas where they are embarked on this approach, and you'll see a range of digital signage from Huntington Beach in California to just across the ditch in Melbourne, Port Phillip Bay to be specific, on page 45, which just shows a static sandwich board that's manipulated from green to red, much like we would with current fire forecasting signs. Again, with your endorsement, officers would go away and do some work on what the communication means would actually look like. I'll leave it there for questions, Madam Chair.
Fantastic, and a really, really good report. Councillor Clow. Actually, just before we go to Councillor Clow, I'm happy to move the recommendations. If I have a seconder,
Yep.
Councillor Simpson. Councillor Clow, back to you.
Yeah, this is fantastic, long needed. Just probably as usual, I feel as though the Manukau's the poor cousin. For many years, obviously, that's where everything was poured into the Manukau because no one really gave a hoot, and the Waitemata was wonderful. Of course, it is wonderful. But it's the Manukau that seems to take the thrashing, and whilst I read that in the future there will be some modelling done for the Manukau, why is that not the priority, given of all the monitored sites, the four most consistently bad sites are Wood Bay, French Bay, Titirangi Beach and Langholm in the inner harbour, and they seem to be the four areas of the most difficulty in analysing what is causing the problem, which is supposedly, from what Watercare told us last year, is some sort of ground surface sediment issue there, which doesn't seem to appear at Blockhouse Bay or doesn't seem to appear at Cornwallis, which are at either end. Why are we not kind of focusing urgently a little bit more on the Manukau? And I know your modelling's been done, but it's just, I just got a query there because those are the worst sites, and it happens at, I swim at French Bay quite often. But it just happens they are the really main problematic ones from what has been said in the past. But why is the Manukau kind of not getting the urgency, I suppose?
Through you, Madam Chair, I think I'm probably best placed to answer this. So Healthy Waters is going to provide the technical resource and support for this program, and you have my absolute assurance. I am absolutely agnostic as to whether it's the Waitemata or the Manukau. They will both get absolute equal status. We believe that by working closely with Watercare and sharing the knowledge that they currently have on their hydrodynamic model that I think is being produced by NIWA, we can interrogate that model and use that for some of our prediction. We also have very specific catchment studies underway already in respect to the beaches that Councillor Clow has raised because clearly from a healthy waters perspective, we'd much rather see green flags at the beaches all of the time, and that's a goal that as a city I think we need to aim for. And so you have my absolute assurance that we are very committed to resolving those issues.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wayne Walker.
Sure. I think this is a very commendable approach, and it's going to be really great to have some information out there, I'm assuming, in advance about Safe Swim. The particular concern that I've got is that we know from Watercare, and I'm looking at their annual report, that the number of sewer bursts and chokes per 1,000 properties is 7.7 they're getting. Now, there are hundreds of thousands of properties in the Auckland region, so that amounts to a significant amount of bursts and chokes. And I certainly know from my knowledge on the ground that this is happening on a repetitive basis. In fact, it's actually going up as we get intensification. I would suggest that it's very, very important that we inform people as to where those locations are. I've raised this with Watercare because in all of these locations, almost without exception, the sewage, and we're talking sometimes raw sewage here, diluted obviously to an extent, is flowing into waterways. It's a known hazard. There is no signage up. I repeat, there's no signage up. That's wet weather. We also know on a regular basis it's happening in dry weather, and that is actually increasing. So I can appreciate that what you're doing is very important, but if we look at the larger context, there is vital information that we need to convey around health hazards that go to health and safety that we are not conveying. So my question is, how is the program that you're addressing dealing with that? Because it's entering into our waterways. Thank you.
Look, thank you, Councillor Walker, and I 100% endorse your comments. And so part of the scope of the project will be looking at all of the history of dry weather overflows from the Watercare network over the last 10 years.
And wet weather.
But particularly focusing initially on dry weather, because that's absolutely right, it's the biggest risk. We will be looking to put monitors on all of those known dry weather overflow sites. And the minute that monitor is triggered, that would automatically create a red flag for that beach. So the public are made aware of the information exactly the same time that council becomes aware of that information. And that would be through a SCADA system, so we've got a real-time information, so the minute a dry weather overflow is triggered, that would show up in both Watercare system and in council system.
Okay, I've got a related question, and while I can appreciate the emphasis on your reporting is around safe swimming that goes to beaches, the overflows that I'm describing initially interact with streams, because many of the discharge points are close to local streams and the stormwater network, much of which is accessible to the public, and people also have an expectation that they can swim in streams. How is your program addressing the safe swimmability of streams and the impact on the stream network?
You're 100% correct. So a number of those dry weather overflow situations will be into streams and not directly onto beaches. So we would add that to the scope of the program. So not only would we be providing forecast information on beaches, but where we have known problem areas in streams, they'll also be made publicly available.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Good questions, Councillor. I've got Member Wilcox next.
Thank you. Yeah, am I to take it now that we're saying you can swim in the water but don't swallow it? Is that where we're going? And I suppose I need to preface that with the thing, one of the saddest things I ever saw when I returned to New Zealand was signs up at just around Maraetai and places, no collection of seafood from this area. And that exists at Glenbrook as well. And I suppose I'm just trying to understand from a Māori point of view why we're saying swimming is okay, recreational kaupapa is good, but collecting seafood is not, and why we're going with the higher standard. I'm totally in support of this, but I'm just trying to understand how that links in.
Through you, Madam Chair, your first question about the risk to recreational users in a waterway, that risk comes through ingestion of contaminated water, so swallowing it, and also in skin contact. So that presents itself as a gastro illness, as a tummy bug, or as skin rashes or other lesions. That's what the science says. Talking with the Auckland Regional Public Health Service and our Medical Officer of Health, they advise over a good period of time no incidences of gastro illness or other associated health impacts from bathing at an Auckland beach. So my point there is the risk is described scientifically. How it presents itself in practical terms is very, very low, undocumented. Now your question about seafood monitoring, that is undertaken by another entity, another body under MB, and Member Wilcox, if you are agreeable, I could bring you information particular to that program if you think it helpful.
Thank you.